and do the Q&A a little bit earlier than maybe we thought. We're pretty much at the end of the proposal. There's some great questions coming in. I was going to do them in time order, but actually, as Robert Sheard asked the first and the last one, I'm actually going to start with his last one. This one's for you, Peter. The challenge in machine builders providing recommended spares will really provide manufacturers information as this is a revenue stream. How can you deal with this before receiving the parts?
Good question, Robert. How are you, my friend? Yes, this is a perennial problem, and it's down to contracts quite often. And what we've shown here is the owner operator has the ability to control the submission of the document. If you don't fill the spare parts information in as is required, you can't submit the document. You won't get paid. That's the way to force it to happen, I'm afraid. There will be some items that clearly are OEM specials and they can't be matched. But I think you would have seen, as a few others on the call I can see would have seen, and Alacon demonstrated in this thing there. Frankly, OEMs make extraordinary amounts of money unnecessarily out of some of the spare parts that are common spare parts. That doesn't benefit anybody at the end of the day. So yes, the owner operators have to use their power, their purse to control and to force that to happen. But it's down to the contracts. It's down to the recommendations there. Our system allows them to do that.
Sorry, before we move on, as an extra thing to potentially add to that as well is one of the things that we're working on building in the background is that product data library that Alacon showed. So whilst this doesn't address equipment manufacturers or machine builders, as you said, providing incorrect information by linking a manufacturer's item of production that has been provided to us directly from the manufacturer to that line item as well, you can then bypass the descriptions that have actually given to you by the OEM and use the manufacturer's data to do that. So it's a challenge that we're aware of. As Peter said, contractual agreements can get around that. Also by in terms of actually providing at least some data, as Alacon said, we can restrict the OEM's ability to complete the spur based on a percentage completion of the required fields. That doesn't necessarily stop them from providing absolute rubbish data within those fields, but at least it steps to improving that. And then the item of production could also provide more accurate data.
Thanks, Matt. And then Panet makes a very interesting point here. And we do have different levels of data in terms of data quality. That, of course, parts data can also be gleaned from purchase orders and invoices. Our preferred route is to get it direct from the OEM.
Yeah, so can I just add to that? So obviously one of the things that this process allows, we have this sort of logo that says shift left. And one of the problems of the traditional process is you don't see these documents until right at the end. And it's handover, it's all manic. You've got thousands of documents you've got to find, search, extract, do all sorts of things. What this whole platform does, it moves the whole process forward. A capital project takes a amount of time. If you're starting to get these documents early, everybody can see what's going on in these documents. You have time as the owner operator to actually put these actions into place, talk to the OEMs, and you're far more able to deal with it than you are when they've already been paid. You're seeing the documents 3 years after they completed it, and you've got no chance of doing it. So that's why the platform and what we call the shift left is so important to this.
Great, thank you. Phil Walters, I thought I saw your hand go up, but I can't find the question. If you put it in the chat with the activities tab, I think it is, then I'll be able to see it there. Sorry, forgive me. I'm sure I saw a hand go up. Okay, so again, some great questions coming in here, and a lot of it around politics. Well, that was sort of politics, wasn't it? I don't mean that sort of politics. I think this one's for you as well, Peter. What have you found to be, this is from Anonymous, I don't have a name. What have you found to be the biggest mistake the companies make when it comes to data cleansing. Wow, there's a subject you could write a whole
Well,
book on
yeah,
that.
indeed, yeah. Well, if companies are, if the question is an owner operator, a user sending data out to third parties, then I'll answer the question in that way, and come back to me if this isn't the sort of aspect that you're looking at. But if you send out, here's 100,000 lines, clean, tender for 100,000 lines to be cleaned outside of your organization, and you just send it away, and you get a file back, there's a number of problems that arise from that. One is there's no ownership. You've got people who have no idea of how you operate, no idea of your culture, and frankly often no idea of what the parts they're looking at is. They're just effectively rearranging the words in your descriptions and trying to normalize them in some sort of way. And we've talked quite a lot on this webinar already about data specifications. And again, as we've demonstrated, one of the common problems that I've seen in the past is that the specifications have class names and they have a series of properties, but they don't have any values that you want back. And often then it's done in spreadsheets. You get a value and a unit of measurement into a single cell, and there's no consistency. And as said before, the problem is not so much is actually, whilst it is in the structure of the data specification used, the detail is in the values and the units of measurement, and that's where the biggest problem comes when you're searching for equivalence and all the rest of it. If you just simple things like m/m, millimeters, all those sorts of differentials. Our system is designed with these data quality rules in place. I mean, I've done these projects before when you get data back and somebody has to then look through the data and define whether it's any better. And I've been on both sides of this process, and often it's just impossible to check these files and prove that you've actually improved the data quality and to get the people. So the key thing is change management. It's about getting a process, getting buy-in, and getting ownership.
Well, I don't know if you were reading the questions, Peter, but that's exactly the next question. How do you tackle the changes to processes and training that go around the application of the tools? This again is from Anonymous. I don't know if it's the same in Anonymous as before, but anyway, that's the question. How do you tackle the changes to processes and training? This is people, process, and technology, isn't it? But
absolutely, yeah. I'll give a shout out to a friend of mine, Danette McGilvery, who wrote a book about 10 steps in a project. I give a shout out because I actually wrote one of the sub chapters in that one, so I'm kind of a bit of a co-author. She's put together a really, really good guide on how to go through a data project. But one of the key things she talks about all the way from step one all the way through is change management. If you don't communicate every step of the way, then nothing happens. And one of the things that we took on board when we were building the Casper product that you've seen is trying to give that information. Part of change management is supplying people with information what's going on, and you can see with the dashboards then we can see what's happening at an individual OEM level. We can see what's happening at product specification level, and it's all part of the communication that you need for change management. But again, I would say you've got to get buy-in, you've got to get the people involved. And the best data cleansing projects I've ever been involved with is when the people in the organization that's put the tender out have been heavily involved.
Great. And actually, Robert has come up with an idea I haven't come across before. Well, I have, but in a different world. And that is, and thank you for this, a sale or return agreement can give you time to analyze the spares and return ones you don't identify, which seems like a very powerful idea at contractual level. I imagine that would have to be.
That'd be an interesting one. Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Yeah.
a quick returning back to that previous question, and specifically with a shout out to the way we develop as well, is in terms of usability of a tool with respect to our tool, is that we are really trying to focus on usability really here, which is both accessibility, making things obvious how to work, making things easy for users to pick up, and processes that are obvious to follow. Obviously, it's a much smaller window than the overall change management, but a shout out to the way we develop is that we really try and put the user first and make improvements to make sure that our system is easy to use.
Okay, great. And another question from Anonymous. Great question. Do you provide consultation on the data quality management and changing the process and setups as well as the software?
Yeah. Do you want me to take that one as well?
Well, I would take it, but I know what I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Jonathan said at the beginning, data quality is a subject dear to my heart. I travel around the world, with writing ISO standards, and as Matt helps me as well, we did a lot of input into making sure international standards are things. Actually, can I just say on one thing here that what we're actually now looking at is kind of a management system standard around data quality. I think it's one of those things that's missing, and we're working on that. So yes, we can. There's actually there's a free checklist that you can ISO 8000 Part 65. If you just drop us a line, we can send you a free checklist that gives you a basic level of where you are. So I hesitate to call it a maturity assessment because it's not really set up like that, but certainly there's a free resource that's available that you can start them. But yeah, we can help people through, and especially if you're actually subscribing to our services and buying our services, that's absolutely part of our setup and training.
Great, thanks, Peter. I knew you'd enjoy that one. And again, Anonymous, I'd love to know who this is. But does your tool integrate with ERPs such that the entire process is automated? I know Matt would like to talk about APIs, but we are now integrated with SAP, but there are many other ERP systems out there. But Matt, do you want to talk about the way the whole thing's structured?
Yeah, of course. So short answer is yes. So part of the project configuration, we're making sure if the data governance module, which is the part that sort of is the integration with your ERP system, is one you subscribe to, would be part of that setting up of the ERP integration. So our web applications built with RESTful APIs and purposely so we can integrate into other systems, whether that's directly integrating into them in your particular setup, or we're happy to work with third parties as well who perhaps have already integrated into certain platforms as well. So yeah, completely flexible as to which systems to connect to, and if we aren't aware of that system or haven't connected to it before, then that's definitely something that we can do.
Peter, do you want to talk about our integration with SAP?
Well, SAP is obviously the most common system for certainly in the asset-intensive industries out there, and we've had some fantastic discussions with SAP since our last webinar, where they were very keen to invite us into the community, and hopefully in the next little while you'll see this Casper product being advertised on the SAP product list. Yeah, they recognise that as Matt says, that modern systems that are built on RESTful APIs are the way to go. Linking with the old SAP systems was painful, and hopefully that's going to make everything easier in the future.
Okay, great. Another one from Anonymous. Is there a limit on how many projects can be managed using your software? I can take that one. The answer is no. The answer is no. It's a multi-tenant SaaS platform that sits in the cloud. It can sit in any cloud. We happen to use Azure at the moment. We have used AWS in the past. If you want other structures like virtual private clouds, then we can talk about that. But essentially, it's built as a multi-tenant cloud, and the great advantage of that, Matt, is that when we make one change, everyone benefits or not.
Yep.
So I know you like that
I
bit.
was wondering what you were getting at there, but yeah, exactly that. So yeah, because we are a multi-tenant application and a web application, that any changes that we make that are benefit for any of our users are automatically shared with everyone. So yeah, you get the benefit of by subscribing to the software, using it as many projects as you want. And actually, one thing that actually would be useful to mention if you're talking about multi-projects is that depending on whether you were here in the first webinar, I encourage you to follow up on the YouTube channel for that, is that our data specifications can be configured on a project by project basis. So not only can you have multiple projects and there isn't a limit, each project can have different data specification setups for your Spur specification and even materials really. But yeah, multi-tenant, as many projects as you want, and you get the benefit of new changes.
But also to be clear that if you're running multiple projects, you can do the data cleansing across multiple projects as well. Now, there's a certain sort of warehouse problem there because you've got to know where your parts are. But
exactly.
Cool. All right. And a question here from Andre Oerland. Andre, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, but thank you very much for the question. Are you currently in any way handling manufacturer or brand lifecycle information yourselves or via third parties? Are you currently in any way handling manufacturer or brand lifecycle information yourselves or via third parties?
PLM stuff. Okay, so that's a really good question, Andre. There's a lot of people out there at the moment doing PLM, and Jonathan made some reference earlier on to product passports, and you've also got these new environmental directives coming out where you've got to have various properties or certificates around environmental product data. So a lot of this is all coming together now. We can certainly integrate with people who are looking to add product lifecycle management things. As Matt says, if they've got a platform we can integrate with, then we're happy to do that. But I think one of the big things that's happening around is around the digital exchange of data now, and one of the big advantages we have, and that's kind of how we see the product data library evolving in the future, is handling all these different types of data. The basis that the models that we've built the whole system on are designed to, as Alakhan used the phrase earlier on, to exchange data in multiple natural languages without loss of meaning. And you do that because we create truly machine readable data through a series of international standards that are set up exactly to do that. And that's why, whilst you don't see that in the foreground of what we're doing, a lot of the bits that you did see form the basis of how that's done. You did see a little bit about the concepts, and you saw the multiple languages for one particular concept. And all these concepts are IDs, and they're exchangeable, machine readable. So we use the same identifier scheme as people like eClass and the IEC CDD. So if you're familiar with any of those, you'll know how that data is exchangeable, and our data is exchangeable in exactly the same way.
To add to that as well, in terms of the manufacturing brand lifecycle, our general strategy is to work with manufacturers, for them to provide that sort of data as well to us in the product data library. Whether that's manufacturers of spare parts, whether that's like OPMs, or whether that's OEMs who are filling in your Spur document as well. There's opportunity for them to load their equipment data into the product data library and make that available for anyone to use.
Great. And sorry, I slightly preempted a question here from Clayton Cooper. Clayton, thank you very much for your question. And it is, do you have any benchmarks or potential ROI by having a quality data governance in place? What is the cost of inaction? Here's a slide with some figures from work that we've done. But Peter, you might just want to quickly talk to this point about the sort of benefits that you get. You saw earlier in the thing Alcan going through and deduplicating and coming up with procurement strategies and saving tens of thousands of dollars, but which really isn't reflected in this. Maybe we don't really talk about the procurement gains on this slide, but Peter, do you want to quickly talk to that for Clayton?
Yes, thanks for the question, Clayton. Yeah, but there's a lot of ways in which the platform saves money, and we've, as Alcan showed, that we have dashboards that show obviously the obvious savings where we're going through reducing the spend. In the next webinar, we'll be talking about the BOM, the material, the MBOM or the maintenance BOM piece module that we have. And what you'll see there is what we've done is that we've taken the processes that what we call what happens in the event of failure. So when a machine breaks, how do you respond to that failure, and you know what spare parts do you need? Now, you know, for a single machine across an enterprise in different locations, that response to failure might be different. So one plant might have the capability to repair it and will keep the spares. Another plant might not have that capability and will send the unit out for repair, so there's no need to keep the spares. That's another way in which we add even more savings to the traditional process. I talked about different work streams going on and integrating them into the platform. That's kind of where we do. In terms of some of the other savings, as I say, massive manpower savings in data cleansing. We're able to start all the processes earlier. We're able to force more people to federate, to bring all the data together. So yeah, and data governance in itself would pay for the cost of the system, but all the other savings make the ROI of the whole system very, very well, massive, really, frankly.
And also link back to your answer there to a previous question about the MBOM, the repair, the failure codes and things like that. We also provide consultancy on that.
Okay, and to that point, we launched last week. It's about to come up on the screen, I hope. You may have seen our pricing page, but we do have essentially a freemium model. We can't pretend that we can give it away for free forever, but it's a cut down version of the core for one project for people to really try this out. So we launched that about 2 weeks ago, and it's proving to being of incredible interest in the marketplace. And of course, we have a humble ambition to run all the equipment and spares in every capital project in the world. So nothing less than that. What I would say is, you know, please pick up the phone, email, get on LinkedIn, let us know how we can help. We're here to learn as much as anything else. We need the feedback from clients using it more and more as they're starting to do. We've had a fabulous year developing out. The level of inquiry has absolutely gone through the roof, and we've got some big announcements coming out very shortly.